Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Taco Tuesday edition of The Rundown. I am your host, Craig DeLuz. But as we all know, I do not do this program on my own.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. I will be your co-host today. My name is Mike Porsky. I am coming to you from the East Coast. And Craig, how was your birthday evening last night?
Well, as you can tell from my voice, there was a lot of talking, a lot of laughing, a lot of birthday spirits, shall we say.
Right,
But
right, right.
had a fantastic time, and it was actually just close family. Me, my brother, his wife, my wife, the kids, grown adult kids, enjoying adult beverages and good food.
Well, there you go. That's how you should do it, right? Friends, food, and fun.
Yes, yes. We tried. It's funny. We tried to do Chevy's on the river, and for some reason, in the middle of June, it decides that there's going to be like a. I won't call it a windstorm, but it was windy enough that it was blowing away my taco chip, my nacho chips. So I was like, yeah, nah, we're good. Let's go home and have some steak.
Well, the perfect nacho chip is an airfoil and will get lift rather easily.
Well, it got lifted a little bit too easy, but
Yeah,
it did
yeah.
help me to get in a margarita.
Oh well, there you go. See, the margarita is the perfect fluids to hold down the airfoil, so it works out well. So, just as long as you're not the pilot, don't do that. That's
All
not
right.
good.
So how is this Taco Tuesday treating you?
Taco Tuesday, baby. It's Taco Tuesday. Listen, you wake up in the morning and you think, what tacos am I going to have today? How many kinds of tacos am I going to have today? It's Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
At some point, I think I might have to maybe ask for some help because I have a taco problem. I actually was a contributing editor for a taco blog at one point around Central Florida, and it became more and more part of my week seeking out a new and perfect taco. And it's a real thing, folks.
Hey,
Taco Tuesday is a real thing.
hey, they say the first step in solving a problem is admitting that you have one.
And I am not ready to admit it because that would mean I'd have to give it up.
I completely and utterly understand.
There you
All
go.
right.
There
Well,
you go.
hey, let's get into today's news, shall we?
We
Let's get
shall.
back to the top here. There we go. All right, here we go. Into today's news. All right, so item number one on today's news list. Well, we all know that dogs are trained to sniff and seek out all different types of things, including ghost guns, as we've come to find, which somehow magically smell different than regular guns. But I digress. That's a whole conversation that we have already had. Well, apparently there is a dog who I believe is in the Minneapolis area. Was sent to a number of different malls to sniff out and find out if anyone was carrying firearms. Well, this dog actually, oh, by the way, these are all malls who have gun-free zone signs. So in other words, they're all gun-free zones. They'll have signs, the magical talismans that say, woogie boogie boogie, no guns here, oogie boogie boogie. And come to find out, well, at 5 of those malls, they found people with firearms. Clearly the talismans are not working, Mike.
They are not. And Craig, you know what? Look this up. Brookfield Malls, and I thought this was in Texas. So let me take this through while we figure out where this is because it makes a big difference for the recommendations we have for you here, folks. Folks, yeah, this is ridiculous. Okay, first off, they have these dog. They have a dog that walks around. It's a private security dog. It's a private security company with a trained dog. I'm not doubting the dog's training. If they say the dog can sniff out gunpowder and gunpowder residue, it probably can. It Here's the fallacy that they're leading off with is that if they take away the law-abiding citizens' guns, that you'll be safer. Again, this is what we see everywhere with these stupid gun-free zone signs. It's that if we get rid of the guns, if we go up to people that are lawfully concealed carrying and ask them, "Are you carrying a firearm?" and they say, "Why, yes, I am," and they're going to ask them to leave. This is a security officer. This is not a licensed working police officer or law enforcement officer. This is a security officer. So they believe that if I walk up to a licensed concealed carrier and ask them, "Do you have a firearm?" One, that they're going to be honest, because there's no requirement to be honest with a paid security guard, that you're going to respond in the positive. The next fallacy is that when they say, "Well, sir, could you please take the weapon outside?" that you're going to do so. The third fallacy that leaving the weapon in your car is somehow safer than you having the weapon on you. Well, you don't have the weapon on you, so that's not safer. And third and fourth, now you put your vehicle, or excuse me, your firearm in the vehicle. Now you've left the vehicle, and everybody knows you left the vehicle because you got walked out by a security guard with a dog. So if it's time to break into a car, guess whose car they're going to break into? You've just facilitated putting another stolen firearm on the street.
Well, exactly. And by the way, you are correct. It is in Texas.
Okay. The reason this is important in Texas is that the signs in Texas do have the force of law. They have the 30-06 sign, which says no concealed carrying, and the 30-07 sign, which says no open carrying. And that's 30.06 and 30.07. They call them 30-06 and 30-07. So if they ask you, do you have the firearm, you must leave. In fact, you're actually guilty. If you say yes and you're beyond one of those signs, you're guilty of that crime. There is no, oh, the sign is just them asking you. It's the law saying you can't have it past this point. So what they're doing is taking lawful concealed carry people and making them criminals by pointing out that they're beyond the sign.
Wow. That's Texas, folks.
Yes.
I mean, we're not talking California. We're talking Texas.
Well, that was the buy-off. When they went to the open carry and the concealed carry, they said, we're going to give business owners the force of law to say they cannot have it here. Right. So if you get caught with your concealed firearm beyond one of those signs, you are now arrestable.
Well, now, let me ask you this.
Please take it to your vehicle.
Right. So what if the sign is not very, I mean, because there have been places where I've gone concealed carrying and didn't realize that I wasn't supposed to be concealed carrying until I was already in the business because I didn't see the sign when I went in. I actually, in some cases, I saw it on the way out.
Right. Now, again, it depends on the state law. If you're in one of those states where the sign has the force of law, it has to meet certain requirements. It has to say certain things. It has to be certain size, and it has to be certain places. Eye level, 1 foot by 1 foot sign kind of thing. If it's a little blurb in the corner, it doesn't count. If you're in a state where the sign does not have the force of law, the sign could be 10 feet wide and say no firearms allowed. It doesn't matter. If you're licensed to concealed carry, you're licensed to concealed carry. I don't care what their preference is.
Right. But once again, in this particular case, we're finding that these signs are not working.
They are not working, or people that have chosen to ignore the signs because they know the sign does not protect them,
right,
have chosen to carry that firearm in there. Now they're going after those good citizens that are carrying. Craig, do you really think if I have a canine that's trained to carry and find, if I have a canine that's trained to find carried firearms, if I go up to a bad guy and say, sir, and somebody who's illegally carrying a gun, who's a felon, right, and I say, sir, do you have a concealed firearm on you? You think they're going to cooperate?
No. In fact, you'd be lucky if you don't catch a hot one.
Exactly right. And guess what? You're only a security guard, right, so you probably are going to catch one. Because who are you going to call? Other security guards?
If you're a mall cop, who are you going to call other mall cops?
That's right. They'll be showing up on their scooters.
That's who these guys are. They're mall cops. Well, calling them mall cops is actually an elevation. They're security guards. They are.
Yep.
All right. Moving right along. We talk all the time about gun buyback programs, and that in essence they do absolutely nothing. They are basically three things functionally. One is a waste of taxpayer dollars. Yep. Oh, that's four things. Two is they're a way for anti-gun politicians to make themselves feel good. Three, they are a good way in which to dispose of crime guns if they're honest about the fact that, no questions asked. And then number four, it's a great way to dispose of junk guns. And that's exactly what in New York, when they engaged in a gun buyback there, that's exactly what they wound up getting.
Yeah, these are great. I love when they have these in New York because New York is the place where handguns and guns have been outlawed for the longest periods. Since post World War II. With veterans coming back with firearms, and when they started having problems in the 60s and 70s, Saturday Night Specials. So they've been the ones in America without firearms for the longest period of time. So you see some really old stuff, and I'm not talking stuff 50, 60 years old. You see stuff 100, 125 years old there. I love to read the comments on some of these firearms when they get taken. And folks, these are not like an old revolver that you would have seen in the 50s or 60s. These are old top break action, some cowboy stuff. You see comments like, oh, thank God this gun's off the street. Now there'll be less stagecoach robberies. or looks like they finally found John Wilkes Booth's gun. It's those kind of comments.
Right. Firearms that basically are not being used in crimes.
Right.
And ultimately that's what winds up happening. But hey, it makes the politicians feel good, and it alleviates, New York taxpayers of some obvious, clearly unneeded money in their pockets because they don't mind paying for it.
Well, listen, it's New York City. They'll just print more and get more from the state, and everybody that lives in Utica is going to have to pay for another one of de Blasio's programs because, guess what? The city cries foul. They need more money. The state gives it to them. And guess what? When the state needs it, the feds give it to them. So we all end up paying for crap like this.
New York City, get a rope.
Capital of the world, right?
Okay, moving right along. Interesting thing happened in California. For the second time, a gun and ammo tax failed in California. Now, mind you, anti-gunners have a veto. They have a solid supermajority in both houses of the California legislature. They don't need a single pro-gun vote or a single Republican vote in order to enact taxes on firearms and on ammunition. Yet for the second time, it has failed here in the state of California. The folks over at Bearing Arms asked the question, is this a sign of things to come? Over at Truth About Guns. My apologies. The folks over at Truth About Guns ask, is this a sign of things to come?
Craig, I think this is a sign that the people in California are fed up with any tax at all. You're talking about your effective tax rate there now up to 53% in the state of California in some locations. I think they don't care what it is. If this was a tax to give you more money, they would turn it down because it's another tax. They're tired and sick of taxes, and I really think that's what this is. I don't think it has anything to do with guns. I think this has everything to do with taxes.
Well, it's not just that, but here's the other thing, is that there are a lot of people in California who, over the last year, decided to go and purchase their first firearm, right? They're like, wait a minute, there's riots going on in the streets. There's, things are, I've got to protect what I got, so I'm going to go buy a firearm. And the number of people who had never bought a gun before in California were going into gun stores. And if you know any FFLs in California, they'll tell you stories of people who were just shocked that, wait, what do you mean it's going to take 45 days for my background check to come in? What do you mean I have to take something? What do you mean I have to take an exam in order to be able to buy a gun? And what do you mean the computer program's not working? I can't log on to the computer program to take it. What do you mean I have to get another background check in order to purchase ammo? People were finding out that these things that they believed to be common sense gun laws turned out to be actual infringements. Because here's the deal, and I always say this: we enumerate rights not for when things are easy and comfortable. It's when the poop hits the fan, and you need your rights to be able to be there for you. That's when it's important to have those rights. And what people found out was, in California, the right to keep and bear arms in a crisis is really not a right.
No, absolutely not. Listen, I've been there. I've been at the gun stores when the person walks in over the past year and a half, when we've got contentious situations going on in our communities, and people blocking roads and protests, and the person walks in and says, "Well, this is a good firearm. I'd like to buy this firearm right here." Now, Florida doesn't have a 45-day wait. We do have up to a week wait, depending on what city you're in or what county you're in. But I've seen people walk in and go, "I'd like to buy this firearm," and they get told they have to wait. And they say, "Well, no, I'll use the loophole. Can I use the loophole?" And you're like, "Oh, no. Oh, sorry. You want the loophole? No, you have to wait for the gun show to go to the loophole.
To do the loophole.
And the gun show's coming up this weekend.
Right, the loop, and stick it through the hole."
Yeah. Well, if you put your money in the hole, you can pull out the gun from the loophole. That's just the way it works.
Well, here's the thing. This is what's a trip about this. So first of all, in California, it's a 10-day wait period, right? In other words, they're supposed to have your background check done in 10 days. The state of California, Javier Becerra, who's now running our Health and Human Services at the federal level, he just decided, the money, all of a sudden you find the money that was going to pay for agents to do background checks, those guys don't really do background checks. They're doing other stuff. So we don't have enough people to do all these background checks. So uh, instead of taking 11 days, we're going to take up to 30, and then we're going to just
Right.
decide. The legislature actually gave them, in some cases, the ability to go up to 30, and then they just decided, yeah, we're just going to take however long we want, and just flat out ignored the law and never paid a price for it, ever.
Yeah, much like has gone on in New Jersey, and we know how they've
Right.
had some success over there with the likes of New Jersey Second Amendment Society, forcing their issue on it, but it's making it a publicity issue, to finally get somebody to act on that. Yeah. Craig, it's I think, like you said, you start with the reason is taxes. I think you start to get more aware people out there on this, and that's how you end up with this bill and not passing again for the second time.
Right. I'm hoping that once again people are waking up to a degree. I know that there are some crazies out there who will not believe that Democrats are bad until the entire state is burning down around them. But there are still some reasonable people.
Like right
here.
now?
Huh?
You mean like right now? You mean like right now?
We're not quite there yet, but we're
everybody's
quickly
fleeing.
on our
Nobody
way.
can afford to be there. You're on fire. Your infrastructure's failing. You've got the fires. The literal fires are coming, and they're going to burn down your electrical grid system. Pretty much like every year.
Dude, I'm in denial. Okay, will you just please let me be? Leave me be. Leave me be in denial. See, this is what I'm talking about. See, now I know what this professor, the one who spoke at Yale, the one we're about to talk about, is talking about the psychopathic problem of the white mind. I think you have it, Mike. I'm serious. So this is a professor that is lecturing at Yale, talking about. It was basically talking about, once again, the psych. Let me just read to you some of the quotes from this lecture. Now, mind you, this is at a university, an Ivy League university. This is the cost of talking to white people at all. The cost of your own life as they suck you dry. There are no good apples out there. White people make my blood boil. Oh, here's another one. I had fantasies of unloading a revolver into the head of any white person that got in my way, burying their body, and wiping my bloody hands as I walked away relatively guiltless with a bounce in my step. Like I did the world a favor. Dude, this is a lecturer at Yale. Now, and by the way, just so you all know, if you want to know, when we say that critical race theory is about teaching racism, I just want to ask you this. I want you to read that sentence and then change the word white for black and tell me it's not racist.
Yeah, this woman, by the way, the one that said this. Listen, for these comments that she's made, they should confine her to a mental facility until she no longer has thoughts of harming other people. Either that or medicate her until she no longer has thoughts of harming other people. Because that's what we do when people walk in and they say, "Excuse me, I feel like I just want to put 5 bullets in somebody's head." Well, they clearly have a mental instability. They clearly have a tendency towards violence. So we need to take them and put them away. That's the reason we have crackpots shooting people in society today, because we got rid of these facilities because everybody was all, well, it's not the cleanest place in the world, so we need to let them out. Yeah, and that's why we end up with these crackpots doing these shootings and stealing firearms, all right, because of idiots like this woman. By the way, an American-Iranian woman, let me say that, Iranian woman. So let's take her and put her back in Iran. And I have seen reports that it's Indian, not Iranian, but the way she spells her last name is an Iranian name, not the Hindu method that they spell it in India.
Right.
She's an Iranian woman, and it's absolutely. And of course, this education came from Chicago, the University of Chicago. She probably had, Eric Holder and Rahm Emanuel themselves.
What did she get her master's in?
Yep.
What did she get her master's in? Go ahead. Critical race theory.
Critical race theory. Her master in critical race theory. Yep. They're from University of Chicago. So yeah, this is this. If anybody is harmed because of these things that she said,
right,
they need to take her family and put them away too. Okay,
right,
before they can spread their hate, because this woman is a criminal sociopath.
Yes.
All right, is what she is. She is not a therapist. She is spreading hate and discontent and going to end up somebody being killed from what she said. They need to lock her up now.
she actually speaks to and deals with. I mean, what's the trip is. So here's a person whose job it is. Once again, she's a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist or just psychotic. But this is someone who literally whose job it is to play with people's minds.
Yes.
And now that we know what is in her mind, do we really want her doing that? I would vote no.
Yeah, there's programs for her, like waterboarding with Diesel. We can do that to her. Make her change her mind.
There you go. All right, moving on to our next topic. The New York Times actually had a very interesting piece, and it was dealing with the tennis player who had decided that because she didn't want to go through the media day and the interviews, she decided she was not going to get engaged in that. And then they said, no, you have to do that. Then she tried to do like the one word answer thing. That didn't work. And so eventually they told her, look, we're going to fine you $15,000 or just not let you play in the tournament at all. So she wound up pulling out of the tournament. And, the New York Times wrote this piece. And if you want to read it, the link is in the description of this video. But unless you're a subscriber to the New York Times, and if you are, I have no idea why you are watching the show. You just go incognito and sneak behind the paywall. But it's literally a piece that's talking about. The title of it is "Finally, We're Revolting Against the Cult of Ambition," and I'm thinking to myself, I see the point of the article. But I also am like, okay, Mike and I, we intentionally did not discuss this beforehand because we wanted to see what each other's perspective was of this particular piece. So, Mikey, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to allow you to exercise your white privilege and go first.
The white privilege. Here we go. Craig, I think if she does not want to be involved with the media day, if she does not want to be involved with the spotlight, that is absolutely her right. But if you do not want to go through that portion of the journey, then you don't get to stand at the top spot and say you're the top tennis player either. It's about making sacrifices. It's about hard work. It's about doing things you don't want to do to earn that title. Listen, I don't care if you're the best tennis player in the world or the best spelling bee person in the world. You've got to commit the time and make the sacrifices to do it. If you don't want to do it, no harm, no foul. Go back and be the best tennis player in your club rather than the best tennis player in the world. I have no issues with that whatsoever. But you don't get a pass. You don't get to say, I don't like doing in front of TVs. I don't like interviews. Well, guess what? If you can't do that, then you don't get to be the best in the world. That's all there is to it.
Well, I think there's one thing that separates the difference, and this is once you become a professional, all right? We're not talking about an amateur who as an amateur, you can say, look, I'm not getting paid. My only job is really to play tennis.
Right.
But once you become a professional, it goes from being a game to being a business. And when you go to engage, if you want to be on the stage, it's like, if you want to be on the stage, you got to read the lines that are given you, right? If you want to be a part of the play,
right.
If you want to be there, then you have an obligation. Well, and here's the thing I'll say. At least she acknowledged that and decided, okay, yeah, I won't play.
Yeah,
no problem.
Yeah, listen, listen. If you don't want to be there, do the Shaq interview style. Right. Remember the Shaq interview style? Shaq would go out and make music videos. He'd do everything in the world. But as soon as after the game he sat down and they wanted to interview him, it was, they gave me the ball and I shot the ball.
Right.
Shaq, how do you feel about this? It was a good game. Yeah, just monotone right there. He did nothing. He didn't want anything to do with it, but he played the game. He played the game,
Right.
He did what they wanted him to do, and he became the best. If you're not willing to put in the time, and I know this is a lot of this current generation. Oh, I don't want to do it. It makes me feel bad. Then don't do it. All right? Don't do it. Go back and be an amateur player, and nobody cares who you are.
Right.
But don't sit here and tell me how you want to be the best in the world, but you don't want to be hassled with a TV interview or doing a practice session or reading your lines or doing the movie, promotions, whatever it happens to be.
Okay, so my take is it's kind of funny because I didn't think our takes would be different. Mine is very, very different in that most of it has absolutely nothing to do with sports or tennis. And it has to do with the points that are made in the particular piece relating to ambition. I'm like, so there's in one aspect I get it, and in another aspect I don't. The aspect where I get it is, we live in a day and age where women in particular are being told that they can have it all, that they can do it all, that you can be the best professional in the world and you can be the best caretaker of your family, mother and all of that, and that you can do it all. And by the way, you don't need a man to do it and have it all. And the fact is that it's just not true. And I say that not, I say that even as a man, I say that for men, it's the same exact thing. I know how much work, energy, and effort goes into being a father, right? How much work and energy and effort goes into doing my job and being good at what I do. And I just know this. I know that my wife had decided, when we decided very early, that her primary focus was going to be the kids and the family. And my primary focus was going to be earning a living and taking in that way, bringing in the resources to help take care of the family. And not that I don't have a role in the family, and not that she doesn't have a role in bringing in in the business. But overall, it's like the two of us together as a team were much stronger than I don't know how any individual. Single parents out there, I'm going to tell you right now, my hat's off to you, because I know how hard it is as a married couple with parents. I don't know how single parents do it. And yet, and still, especially for mothers who, quite frankly, just put so much on themselves in terms of taking care of their kids and their family and all of that, and then to have to go to work full time and do that, I don't know how you do it. So the first thing is you've got this burden that's been put on people, telling them, and by the way, understanding in this particular case, we're talking about a tennis player who is black. Black women, it's something like less than 25% of them actually are actually married, actually wind up getting married. So if they're going to have children, there's a very good chance that they're going to wind up being a single parent. And what gets me is that they're talking about all this pressure put on. No, first of all, it's pressure that's put on women. And in particular, because black women are less likely to get married, it's an even greater pressure when it comes to family. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. But guess what? This is what you chose. This is what we chose. I mean, as a society, we decided that no, we don't want mom taking care of the kids. We want her out in the workplace, competing with the men, competing with them for jobs, competing with them for salary, and so we want them to then have to do it all. So that's what we decided as a society. I'm not saying I decided. I'm not saying I completely agree with it. I'm just saying that's what we've decided. And that's what feminists, like the woman who wrote this article, have decided they wanted to have happen. So number one, that's problem number one. So I get what she's saying. She's kind of like, okay, well, maybe that's not such a good thing. But then on the other aspect of it, we also live in a society where leaders in the black community in particular have pushed a level of mediocrity on us, right? We are like, well, we can't do anything without the government's assistance, or without the white man, or without all of this other stuff. And I'm like, no, if there is a reason why we need to be talking about being ambitious. We need to be talking about being aggressive. I always say this, Mike, any monster that I don't slay, my kids are going to have to slay. Any battle that I don't fight, my children are going to have to fight. We need to be encouraging young black men and young black women and young white men and young white women, or whatever color they are or whatever gender they are. We need to be encouraging people to be ambitious, to go out and be aggressive. Because once again, whatever territory you conquer, the generation after you doesn't have to conquer it. They have the opportunity to go to an even greater level.
For a couple points, Craig, because I don't want to take us too long. The one, I wasn't aware she was a black woman. I listen. It's a New York Times story, and I don't pay for news, and they want you to pay for news, so I just Googled the information somewhere else and got it, and there was no photo on mine. I thought she was Asian with the name Osaka, so not that either one made a difference to me at all in the story, but I didn't realize that going into this. Second, they did want to make a big issue out of the pay gender gap, and you went there pretty good, but I've been an employer, obviously been an employee before. I think that, and I can see both sides of this argument. I think that men and women should be paid the same for the same amount for the same work that they do, no matter what. If I contribute this is what I get. And this should be the same for men as it is for women. Like you said, talking single parents, a woman is more likely, it's probably 80-90%. I have no idea if it's time to go home and raise a child for 6 months, or after you've completed your Family Medical Leave Act, because everybody gets that, and then you want to stay home and raise the child. they're going to be gone more. I think the single male doing that is much less, maybe the 10 or 20% that makes up for that difference. So I can see the employer's thought process. Why should I pay the woman the same as the man when she's just going to leave me and I'm going to have to fill her spot later and I'm going to need money to retrain her? I get that. I don't believe it's right. I don't believe it's wrong. I don't know. It's a numbers game and a business game, but everybody should be treated equally in the world, in pay, in race and gender, whatever it happens to be. But I don't even know how this story got to that. Reading this story that this author put out, how this even got to the pay issue, because women in professional sports make less than men in professional sports. I don't know. They weren't clear on this. All of a sudden, it was like, I need one more point to argue. Oh, let's talk about the pay gap.
Oh yeah, no, it's clearly being used as a venue in which to voice a number of other concerns.
Right.
But like I said, for me, I'm like, one, we should be encouraging everybody to do more and to achieve at their greatest levels. And because guess what, there is really no place else in the entire world that you can enjoy the fruits of your labor, your hard work, your talents, your ingenuity than here in these United States. But we need to be encouraging people to be ambitious. It shouldn't be a revolt against it. But the other thing is once again an acceptance that, what, you do have to learn to balance life, work and family, and your mental health, and dealing with Democrats. I mean, other people. Life is about balance. And if anybody believes that you can, at least in this life, right, have it all and do it all and still maintain some level of sanity, need to wake up to it. And by the way, do it all by yourself. Right. Yeah, maybe you need to wake up to reality.
Yeah. Again, listen, you want to be the top, you got to put up with some of the hardships to get there. That's just the way it works. You got to work harder than everybody else.
I continually read. One of the reasons I read a lot of biographies is because you get into the mind of people who are successful, and you come to find that there is a bit of there's a bit of narcissism in there. There's a bit of just, they sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
People who are the best sacrifice. And that's why I think we honor them, because we recognize that we get a chance to see and watch them do things that we didn't think was possible. But we also recognize and acknowledge that they sacrificed to be able to have that and do that.
I think that's a lot of problem with the current generation.
Don't want to sacrifice.
We want the top rewards, but we don't want to put the work in, and that's what this story sounds like to me.
We don't want to sacrifice, and by the way, that's fine if you don't want to sacrifice, but don't have the expectation that I'm going to have the best or be the best.
Right. Yeah, not everybody's going to get the trophy for best tennis player in the world.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So as we go into today's parting shot, just so you guys know, this is how we feel about all of y'all. And we feel about each other. It's okay if you fall apart sometimes. Tacos fall apart, and we still love them.
Craig, you might be talking metaphorically, but I'm talking about tacos. I mean, it's Taco Tuesday. Hey, Taco, if you got a problem, don't worry. I'll pick you up. We'll finish this together. We'll be all right.
It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right.
We're going to make it all right. You might have started out as a taco. You might be finishing as a taco salad. But either way, you finish it in my belly.
In my belly.
Get in my belly.
Hey, folks, want to remind you, this Friday, as usual, is Freedback Friday. Freedback Friday. We have some stuff that we're going to be giving away. Mikey, you got some samples for them?
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to reach into the loophole here and pull it out. There we go. So we've got an upper receiver here from Gorilla Machining. Thank you, Gorilla Machining. Gorilla Machining. And then we have a 80% paperweight from our good friends at Grid Defense. Lines. Grid Defense. There we go. So Grid Defense, Gorilla Machining. Great to have these guys take them together like chocolate and peanut butter, just like that. Like taco meat and taco shells, baby, just like that, made for you. And we're going to give this away. Feedback Friday. We need more commenters, is what we need. So bring your friends, because if you got the best comment in the world, but there's only 7 people on there, you're getting it.
Nope.
Ain't getting it.
Not gonna
So
happen.
it's time to bring out all them extra Facebook personalities you own. And
Exactly.
Have them log in.
Exactly. And by the way, make sure, we have the links to all of our sponsors are in the description of this video. Please visit our sponsors. Tell them that you heard about them from Mike and Craig at the Rundown.
Right between the Taco Tuesday part and the dogs that sniff out serial numbers.
All right. On that note, we're going to call it a day. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow on Hump Day.
Hump Day.
Talk to you later.